The Amazon is a colossal mystery, and it's one of the subjects that I explore in depth in America before. First of all, to give some basic figures, the Amazon basin is huge.
For years, people have believed the Amazon was hiding far more than anyone truly understood. That speculation recently turned out to be true. A group of scientists entered a highly restricted area considered too dangerous to explore and made a terrifying discovery. Beneath thick layers of jungle, they found enormous stone structures, long passageways leading into hidden chambers, and strange markings that are currently sending shock down the spines of everyone in the scientific world. Join us in this video as we explore the recent shocking discovery made in the restricted Amazon region. Daring the unknown, discovering fear. The Amazon rainforest remains one of the most unexplored places on the planet. Spanning 9 countries, it covers around 5.5 million square kilometers, nearly half the size of the United States, and even larger than the entire European Union. From the sky, it appears like an endless green ocean. Most trees reach heights of 30 to 40 meters, while some massive giants rise beyond 60 meters, towering over the dense jungle below. The thick canopy blocks almost all sunlight, so in many parts of the Amazon, less than 1% of sunlight actually reaches the ground. Beneath the trees, the forest floor sits in near darkness almost all the time. It's packed with tangled vines, flooded by seasonal rivers, and crawling with insects and predators that make every step difficult. Because of these harsh conditions, traveling through the Amazon has always been extremely challenging. Vast regions have no roads, no clear landmarks, and almost no reliable way to navigate. For decades, scientists believed only small, nomadic tribes could survive there. The idea of large, permanent cities hidden in the rainforest seemed impossible. The reasoning was simple. Much of the Amazon soil is low in nutrients, and the environment destroys structures quickly. Wood decays within years, thatched roofs collapse, and even stone buildings eventually crack apart as tree roots force their way through them. In some cases, entire settlements can vanish within a few centuries, swallowed completely by the jungle as if they never existed. Still, many indigenous communities have long spoken of ancient cities hidden deep within the forest, places that existed long before outsiders ever arrived. Some legends even mention the people below, mysterious beings believed to live inside caves or underground spaces beneath the jungle. For a long time, there was no way to prove whether these stories were true. The rainforest was simply too massive and too dense to explore properly using traditional methods. But recently, modern technology finally changed that. Scientists now have tools capable of seeing through the thick forest canopy, revealing structures and patterns hidden beneath the jungle floor for centuries. Reaching the site was a brutal journey that took weeks. The team had to cut through thick jungle, cross flooded terrain, and move through areas where no paths existed at all. But when they finally arrived, they discovered something far more extraordinary than the scans had revealed. Spread across the face of the cliff above the sealed structure was a massive red mural. It depicted extinct animals, mastodons and giant ground sloths fleeing in panic, while a blazing object streaked across the sky above them. Beside the scene was a strange arrangement of dots placed with remarkable precision. Later analysis suggested the pattern may have represented a star map, matching the night sky as it could have appeared around 10,800 BCE. And yet, that was only the beginning. The team soon realized the real mystery was hidden inside the sealed structure built into the mountain itself. When the researchers finally stood at the base of the ridge, they saw that the oval shape detected by LiDAR was far more unusual up close. What had looked from the air like a simple formation was actually a smooth section of limestone, coated in a pale mineral layer known as calcite, a material much harder than ordinary cave deposits. The surface didn't resemble a natural cave entrance at all. Instead, it looked intentionally sealed, almost as if someone had carefully closed it off long ago to keep something hidden inside. But as the researchers approached the structure, an unsettling feeling spread through the group. Something about the place felt wrong immediately. As the team moved closer, their equipment began acting strangely. Compasses spun wildly in full circles before suddenly locking toward the center of the structure. GPS devices flickered constantly, losing signal without warning. Even their backup systems produced unstable readings. Still, the researchers pushed forward. They began drilling into the sealed surface using industrial-grade, diamond-tipped equipment. Under normal conditions, rock like this should have taken less than an hour to penetrate. Instead, it took 3 full days. And when they finally broke through, a sharp hiss burst from the opening. The air that escaped wasn't stale or rotten, like the inside of an ancient cave. Instead, it carried a strong, metallic smell, suggesting the chamber may have remained sealed under pressure for an incredibly long time, possibly thousands of years. Once the opening was large enough, the team prepared to enter. The first thing they noticed was the silence. No insects buzzing, no birds calling, no wind moving through the chamber, not even distant animal sounds from the jungle outside. The silence felt unnatural. As their lights swept across the ground beneath their feet, they realized this was no ordinary cave. What more did they discover to prove that this was an extraordinary cave? What do these discoveries pose to the world right now? Keep watching to find out. Proof of an ancient civilization in the Amazon. The floor had been paved with terra preta, a rare human-made soil famous for its unusual durability and ability to survive for centuries. Above them stood massive basalt pillars supporting the ceiling. That detail made the discovery even more shocking. Basalt forms in volcanic regions, meaning these enormous stones must have been transported from miles away through some of the harshest jungle terrain on Earth. At that moment, the team could no longer deny the obvious conclusion. This wasn't a natural cave later used by humans. It had been deliberately built. This wasn't a cave shaped by nature. It was a structure that appeared to have been built intentionally from the very beginning. Deeper inside, the chamber narrowed into a tunnel, and the architecture became even more disturbing. The passageway was lined with enormous rib bones, each one standing upright at perfectly measured intervals. Later analysis suggested the bones belonged to mastodons, massive prehistoric creatures that went extinct around 10,000 years ago. Many of the ribs weighed hundreds of kilograms, yet they had been arranged with incredible precision and symmetry, forming a corridor that felt ceremonial, almost sacred. The deeper the team ventured, the stranger the sight became. Then they found something that shattered every expectation, a discovery so bizarre that it transformed the underground structure from an archaeological mystery into something far more unsettling. Beyond the corridor of bones, the tunnel opened into a massive chamber. At its center sat a circular basin filled with a thick black liquid. At first glance, it looked like still water, but when the researchers shone light into it, something felt wrong immediately. The light didn't reflect back. Instead, it seemed to disappear into the liquid itself, as though the substance was absorbing it completely. The sight left the team frozen. What exactly was this strange fluid? Why had it been placed deep beneath the mountain? And who had created it? To get answers, the researchers carefully collected samples and sent them away for analysis. When the results came back, they revealed something astonishing. The analysis revealed something almost impossible. The environment inside the basin was completely sterile. There were no bacteria, no algae, and no signs of decomposition. Conditions that are extraordinarily difficult to maintain naturally, especially in the humid environment of the Amazon rainforest. Whatever substance filled the basin appeared to have been designed specifically to preserve organic material. That realization led to an even more shocking discovery. Suspended within the dark liquid were dozens of objects. When researchers examined them more closely, they realized they were seeds, perfectly preserved seeds from plant species believed to have gone extinct more than 10,000 years ago. Some were still attached to tubers and fragments of plant tissue, as though entire food crops had been intentionally stored away for safekeeping. The question was immediate and unsettling. Why would an ancient civilization go to such lengths to preserve these plants? Near the basin, the team uncovered another clue, a collection of tools crafted from obsidian. That discovery created a new mystery. Obsidian, a form of volcanic glass, does not naturally exist anywhere within the Amazon basin. Geological testing later traced the material back to the Andes Mountains, more than 1,000 kilometers away. That meant whoever built this underground complex was capable of long-distance travel, trade, planning, and coordination on a scale researchers had never expected from ancient Amazonian cultures. But the strangest evidence waited at the rear of the chamber. A dark, burned layer coated the stone walls. Embedded within it were microscopic glass spheres, formations that only appear under extreme heat, such as from a massive explosion or a cosmic impact. Even more disturbing, parts of the surrounding rock showed signs of melting. Researchers estimated temperatures inside the chamber must have exceeded 1,500 degrees Celsius. At some point in the distant past, an enormous blast had occurred here, and according to the evidence, the explosion had fused the entrance shut, sealing the structure beneath the mountain for nearly 12,000 years. And perhaps the most unsettling part of all is this. This was only a single structure discovered within a massive, largely unexplored region deep inside the Amazon rainforest. The Amazon is so vast and so difficult to access that huge portions of it have never been properly studied by scientists or explorers, which leads to one chilling question. If this was hidden beneath the jungle for thousands of years, who does the Amazon really belong to? Are the current inhabitants of the Amazon not aboriginals? Let's see. The Amazon people. Archaeological discoveries at Caverna da Pedra Pintada suggest that humans first settled in the Amazon region at least 11,200 years ago. Over time, these early communities gradually expanded, and by around AD 1250, late prehistoric settlements had begun appearing along the edges of the rainforest. These communities even altered parts of the forest landscape around them. For many years, scientists believed the Amazon could never support large populations. One of the strongest supporters of this theory was Betty Meggers, who argued in her book Amazonia, Man and Culture in a Counterfeit Paradise that the rainforest's poor soil made large-scale agriculture nearly impossible. According to her theory, the Amazon could only support small, scattered groups of hunters and gatherers, with population densities remaining extremely low. But more recent discoveries have challenged that belief. Archaeologists and anthropologists now believe parts of the Amazon may once have supported surprisingly large and organized societies. One major example comes from the Upano Valley, where researchers uncovered ancient settlements that predate every previously known complex Amazonian society. Evidence increasingly suggests that the Amazon was not an untouched wilderness before European contact, but a region shaped by millions of people over thousands of years. Some researchers estimate that around AD 1500, nearly 5 million people may have lived throughout the Amazon region. Others believe the population may have exceeded 8 million before European arrival in 1492. These populations were spread across inland communities and dense settlements near river systems and coastal regions, including Marajo Island. However, following European contact, disease, violence, and colonization devastated indigenous populations. By 1900, the native population of the Amazon had reportedly fallen to around 1 million people, and by the early 1980s, fewer than 200,000 remained. The first European known to travel the full length of the Amazon River was Francisco de Orellana in 1542. For centuries, many historians believed Orellana exaggerated his descriptions of large civilizations along the river. but later research, including evidence highlighted by the BBC documentary series Unnatural Histories, suggests his accounts may have been far more accurate than previously thought. Today, growing archaeological evidence indicates that pre-Columbian societies in the Amazon practiced advanced agriculture and built thriving, complex communities capable of supporting large populations deep within the rainforest. Many researchers believe ancient Amazonian civilizations were eventually devastated after contact with Europeans, largely due to diseases such as smallpox, which spread rapidly through indigenous populations that had no immunity. In the early 20th century, British explorer Percy Fawcett became obsessed with finding evidence of a lost civilization hidden in the Amazon. He believed an advanced, ancient city once existed deep within the rainforest, a place he famously called City of Z. Fawcett launched several expeditions into the jungle searching for it, but the results were never conclusive. During his final expedition in 1925, he disappeared mysteriously along with his son and another companion. Their fate remains one of history's most famous exploration mysteries. Then, beginning in the 1970s, discoveries started changing how scientists viewed the Amazon entirely. Researchers uncovered massive geoglyphs, enormous geometric earthworks carved into the landscape, hidden beneath deforested land and dating between AD 1 and 1250. Ondamar Dias is credited with first documenting these formations in 1977, while Auciu Ranzi later expanded the discoveries after observing the region from the air over Accra. These findings added more weight to the idea that large, organized societies once thrived throughout the Amazon long before European arrival. Could the remains of these geoglyphs be what the scientists found? Were they already decades late? Keep watching to find out. The Amazonians survived and evolved centuries ago. The BBC documentary series Unnatural Histories also presented evidence suggesting the Amazon rainforest was not simply an untouched wilderness. Instead, researchers now believe humans have actively shaped parts of the forest for at least 11,000 years through methods such as forest gardening and the creation of terra preta, an unusually fertile, human-made soil found across large areas of the Amazon. Terra preta allowed agriculture to flourish in regions previously thought too infertile to support large populations. Because of this, many scientists now believe significant portions of the Amazon rainforest may actually be the result of centuries of human management rather than purely natural growth. In 2003, Michael Heckenberger and researchers from the University of Florida uncovered evidence of large settlements in the territory of the Jingu peoples in central Amazonia. Their discoveries included roads, bridges, defensive structures, and massive public plazas, signs of highly organized urban planning hidden beneath the forest. The Amazon was also home to conflict between neighboring tribes and societies. Among some groups within the Jivaroan peoples, including the Shuar, warfare played a major role in society, and certain groups became known for practices such as headhunting and ceremonial head shrinking. Missionary accounts from the border regions of Brazil and Venezuela often described frequent conflict among different Yanomami communities. Some anthropological studies even suggested that warfare was a major cause of death among Yanomami men, although the exact numbers and interpretations remain heavily debated among researchers. The Amazon basin as a whole was historically home to both peaceful societies and highly warlike groups. One example was the Munduruku, a powerful warrior society that expanded along the Tapajós River and its tributaries. Neighboring tribes reportedly feared them because of their military strength and long-distance raids. By the early 19th century, however, the Munduruku were gradually subdued by Brazilian forces. Historical records also describe large raiding expeditions carried out by groups such as the Bororo, Kayapo, Guarani, and Tupi. In contrast, the societies of the Jingu region were often described by anthropologists as relatively peaceful, generally avoiding violence unless defending themselves from neighboring attacks. Early 20th century ethnographic records reportedly classified around 30 indigenous Amazonian groups as peaceful, while more than 80 others were described as warlike. The arrival of outsiders during the Amazon rubber boom brought devastating consequences. In the 1950s, Brazilian explorer and indigenous rights advocate Cândido Rondon supported the efforts of the Orlando Villas-Boas brothers, who campaigned to protect indigenous communities along the Xingu River. Despite strong opposition from ranchers and government officials in Mato Grosso, their work helped establish Brazil's first indigenous national park in 1961. That same era also highlighted the dangers of entering isolated Amazonian territories. In 1961, British explorer Richard Mason was reportedly taken out by members of the Panará, an uncontacted Amazonian group at the time. Some tribes remained isolated from the outside world until surprisingly recently. The Matses, for example, only established permanent contact with outsiders in 1969. Before then, they were effectively in conflict with the Peruvian government. Another indigenous group, the Tirio, also known as the Trio, continues to live across northern Brazil, Suriname, and Guyana. Recent estimates place their population at roughly 3,600 people across the three countries. The Tirio people live in several major villages and smaller settlements along the border region between Brazil and Suriname. They speak the Tirio language, which belongs to the Caribbean language family, and refer to themselves as Terreno, a term that roughly translates to people from here or local people. The modern Tirio population was formed from several different indigenous communities over time. Some of these groups, including the Aramixo, were already being mentioned in European writings as early as 1609 to 1610. Historically, many of the communities that later became part of the Tirio lived in the region between Brazil and French Guiana. However, conflicts and territorial expansion eventually forced them westward. Researchers believe these migrations were largely driven by the Oyampi, a Tupi-Guaranian group allied with the Portuguese during the colonial period. As displaced groups moved west, they gradually merged with other indigenous communities already living in the area, eventually forming what is now recognized as the modern Tirio people. Because of their location, the trio established contact relatively early with escaped enslaved African communities that settled in the region during the late 18th century. One of their most important relationships was with the Ndyuka people, a Maroon community descended from formerly enslaved Africans in Suriname. For many years, the Ndyuka were essentially the trio's only consistent connection to outside populations, and the two groups maintained regular trade relationships. Direct contact between the trio and Europeans remained extremely rare throughout the 19th century. The first officially recorded encounter happened in 1843, when explorer Robert Schomburg visited a village identified as Drio. What do you think about these troubling discoveries home to the Amazon? Do you think the Amazon holds even more potential to surprise the world? Share your thoughts in the comments section below. Thank you for joining us to look through these brave discoveries and the Amazonian capabilities. We hope you found this video both interesting and thrilling. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Click the next video on your screen to explore more shocking discoveries. See you there.